Good morning. Good morning. Wake up. Wake up. How are you, Larry? We're in opposite box. There we go. Now it feels normal again. Hi everyone. Damon Bruce, Larry Kruger with you, giving you the latest from 49ers news, and we're going to take a good look around the world of sports and see some other things that have happened this week. It's been a pretty interesting week. Good morning, Larry.
What's going on, man? How are you? Happy Friday to everybody. It is late March. It's amazing how fast March has gone by. Should be a nice day today. I think we're going to get some rain over the weekend. Don't like that. But the tourney's on.
Yeah, at least
baseball's almost here. The draft is here. This is starting to become my favorite time of the sports calendar.
It's fantastic. Soon, we're going to have the tinkling piano of the CBS Masters music behind us. I'll tell you, I'm missing Jim Nantz in this tournament. I'm missing Greg Gumbel in this tournament. I'm missing Vern Lundquist's voice. And even though it's been a while since Vern has done games, the announcers that I loved, Larry, are no longer available to my ears. And that brings us back to Rennell, which an awful lot of this week started with that discussion. So a week for tugging on your heartstring announcers, I guess. Speaking of
it's like comfort food, it's like comfort food. And Gumbel is out because of some illness in his family, but not related to him. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I took away. Lundquist, they just retired, right? He's moved on, and Nance has moved on as well. So, it's amazing. We love the tradition of, if you walked up to most people on the street, do you like tradition? Most people be like, yeah, I don't care. We're so, everything's about our phone and the latest tweet or, whatever. But I think deep down people do really like the traditions of their lives. And that sports is a big part of that. And the NCAA tournament is an amazing thing because it's the greatest format. And yet all they ever do year after year is have these ongoing discussions of how to tinker with it. It's like, dude, you've already invented the hit. Just enjoy it.
Totally. Did you see?
Don't up it. Don't shrink it. Don't do this. Don't do that. Just enjoy reap the benefit of good decisions made before you ever got there.
Totally. Don't mess with perfection. And this really is one of the most perfect sporting tournaments there is anywhere in the world of sports. So great to see. Oh, Larry, you got a 21-month member, Clarence Beeks, saying anyone who says we need it in the response to the rain, give them the womp womp. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. If it's
we really could use more rain. Screw you.
Having said that, if you got to rain and keep me inside during the NCAA tournament, I'm good with that. I see my boy McBride is in here today. What's going on, McBride? A lot of good friends, a lot of routine listeners, a lot of folks who have made Wake Up a part of their 3 times a week schedule, starting at 8:30 a.m. West Coast time, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe to these channels. You talk about nostalgia. It's a warm blanket that we wrap ourselves in. When we were quickly going over what we were going to get into today, you mentioned that Brock Purdy is on his honeymoon right now. So congratulations to the newlyweds, Brock Purdy and his beautiful wife. I don't know where they've gone, Larry. I don't know where they are, but I hope they're having a great time.
Turks, the islands of Turks and something.
Turks and Caicos.
Caicos, yes.
Okay,
so it looked spectacular. Where did you and your bride honeymoon?
So Jillian and I went and had like a long weekend on Kauai in Hawaii, and it was a pretty simple, quick honeymoon because we actually got engaged over in Paris on a 2.5 week long trip, Amsterdam, Paris, London, and so we had our engagement sort of started with a little bit of a honeymoon. So we had a quick honeymoon. It was incredible. We went to Kauai and it was great. We didn't go right away though. We got married. We both went to work for a couple weeks because we were both deep in it for whatever reason. And then we took our honeymoon. So we had a little bit of a delayed honeymoon. Where'd you and Amy go?
We did not do the delayed honeymoon. We went our marriage was on a Saturday, and I think we left for Maui on Monday morning.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine owned a condo on the Bay Course at Kapalua. and his mom and dad gave it to us for like 2 weeks for nothing
Oh,
as a wedding gift. And it was spectacular, man. Right there, I forget what hole it was, but just 2 weeks in Maui, and a lot of sun, a lot of geckos, a lot of lavender smells.
a lot of look at it this way. The only thing better than honeymoon, free honeymoon. So that's nice.
It was spectacular. It was really, really good. Though I will say this, it's like, they say more than 10 days in the islands is too much. And I don't know. I mean, I will say that, I probably wasted at least the final 3 days just thinking about getting back, because it was 13 days was a long time to go to Hawaii. So all I would say to anybody is if you're going to Hawaii, a week to 10 days, to 10 days.
There is such a thing as too much Hawaii. And by you start getting a little bitter at the end of it, and you're like, all right, everything's got, it's like a nut encrusted something. Like you get to the island, you're like, give me all the macadamia nuts you can fit in my mouth. And then by the end of the vacation, you're like, if I see another macadamia nut encrusted piece of fish, I'm going to scream at somebody. So,
you can say mahalo, but it still comes out as $9 lemonade at the pool.
It sure does. It sure does. The one thing about Hawaii that I'm surprised isn't just bigger back here on the mainland is shave ice. Like you go everywhere around Hawaii, there's shave ice. And obviously it's not, balmy and tropical in San Francisco at all times. So maybe you want fewer icy treats, but there's a lot of ice cream parlors in San Francisco. And what's the difference between shaved ice and ice cream? It's really not that much of a difference. I think shave ice is one of the great desserts that is yet to be wildly embraced here on the mainland.
Well, I'll say this though, they love their Spam too.
They do.
Spam is not a regular. I'd rather have ham than Spam, but you can find Spam on almost every menu you go to in Hawaii. My favorite thing, there was 2 things we did that were amazing outside of, which was the hopper to Molokini, which was like a little, like kind of like a motorized boat that took you out to the crater. And on one side of the crater, you've got all the plants and orange and red and all the different sea turtles. On the other side, it's like a scene from the deep, and it just goes straight down, and it's like super deep, and it's hundreds and hundreds of feet deep. That was really cool. And then the bike ride down the Haleakala. If you've ever gone to Maui, or if you ever go to Maui,
they drive you up in a van to the top of the volcano, and then you just get to like coast down, right?
Right. And they pick you up at like 1:00 in the morning and drive you up there at 3, so that you're up there at 5 or whatever at the top when the sunrise hits. And then you're all packed up with all these clothes, and you ride down for a couple miles, and you take off a jacket, and you ride down for a couple more miles, you take off another jacket. And then by the end, it's just a coast. It's just a coast down, but it's beautiful, man. It's really beautiful. It's gives you kind of a taste of the thing. The thing that I think is the most overrated is the road to Hana. Yeah, here it is. Avtar Singh. Look at this. The road to Hana is hell. Yeah. I mean, the road to Hana might be as well the highway to hell, I mean, it's nothing. I mean,
so I haven't done any island in Hawaii outside of Kauai. And there's a part of me that doesn't even want to go to any other. Like, I found the perfect Hawaiian island. I really have.
Well, that is the perfect for honeymooners.
It is. And the Nepali coast with the cliffs just coming straight up out of the ocean, like the opening of freaking Jurassic Park. It's freaking amazing. It really is.
Could you ever live in Hawaii?
No.
Don Nelson does. Willie Nelson does.
I couldn't do it because I'm just too much of I need any day I don't do a show, Jillian's going to get an earful that night. If I go 4 or 5 days in a row without doing
a show from there.
I know, but if I go like 4 or 5 days in a row without being on the air in some way, shape, or form, I start driving my wife nuts. Like I'm doing a show to her. So I like vacation, but I'm also the guy who likes what he does enough to where I don't feel like I'm like burdened by work or anything when I'm working.
But what if you could blend work and vacation? Only thing, I mean, I'll say this: poi is also super overrated. I'm
Totally
like,
overrated. It's
I
nothing.
mean, you don't want poi. It's fat. It's gray. It's terrible. It's awful. The luau is totally overrated. But man, when we went, when KMBR, me and Tommy and Rod went to the Big Island and stayed at the Westin Hapuna Beach, and the elevator bottom floor left you out on the sand, and the beach was white sand and the water was warm, and like we were doing a show 3:00, so it was like noon there. So like I get up at 10, have a little breakfast, go hit the waves, swim around 11:30, 11:40, walk back and do the show. And it's like, I don't know, man, that was
I
pretty
see you and Rod
perfect.
walking hand in hand on the beach, best buddies,
best buds. Our kids were best buds. It was a wonderful time.
That sounds, again, free Hawaii is better than I'm paying through the nose for at Hawaii. I'm just not an island guy. I'm a city boy. I am.
It was really cool watching the Niners from the islands too. I mean, we're at poolside at a poolside bar watching the Niners. The Niners, I mean, it was just, it was fantastic, man. It was a fantastic, and also the Big Island is huge, and it's also kind of like, it's almost like a little farming place too. There's really killer like fruits and vegetables, and there's a whole community that lives there. I mean, obviously the hotels and the resorts are amazing, but when you drove, let's say, off campus and you drove into around the Big Island,
local,
the local restaurants were really killer, and there was all kinds of stuff. So I could probably go Big Island for at least a month a year.
So Purdy is in Turks and Caicos. I was going my follow-up question was going to be, is he having a normal person honeymoon, or about to be worth 9 figures a couple years from now honeymoon? Like, how much is
he looked pretty normal, man. He was fishing, and
okay,
they were on a couple wave runners, and I'm happy for the guy, because you know what, the guy is good a player as he is, as good a competitor as he is. And I don't claim to know him, but I've had a chance to talk to him a few times. He's a pretty normal, down to earth, pretty cool guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a real dude, he's a real guy that's just like, could be one of your buddies from school,
He's a normal. He's a normal Larry.
He's a normal guy, who's just happens to have a great skill. So.
Yeah, but he's less professional athlete-y than a lot of the professional athletes you meet. And it's not just the way he comports himself. It's also like the physical stature of his whole thing. That's why I think Steph Curry is such a relatable galactic figure, because, he doesn't tower over you. He's not a physical intimidator. If you walk past Steph Curry in the grocery store, you just say, there's a person. Yeah, he doesn't stand out as this, look at it this way.
Well, he's a good guy too.
Totally. But
Steph is a true good guy.
But
that's the thing. We're kind of blessed in the Bay Area right now between Brock and Steph. I mean, you got guys, Buster before that. You got guys who are, at their core, pretty freaking solid.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as he rises in stature and becomes more and more of a daily topic, wait and you see how much everyone decides they really like Trace Jackson Davis when it's all said and done. Not just the player, but the guy. He's a great guy too. So, anyways,
Jung-Hoo Lee.
Jung-Hoo Lee might be our new.
He could be. He's just like every man. No, but they did ask Jung-Hoo Lee, what does he like to do? This was a beautiful moment, by the way. He's sitting around the media. They're all sitting there, and they're trying to get ahead of each other. One story, and they're just sitting there. And they're like, Jung, what do you like to do when you're not playing baseball? And he's like, I like to watch YouTube and wake up with Damon and Larry and eat good food cooked by my mom. I made up the part Damon and Larry, but he likes to watch YouTube. Jung-Hoo Lee likes to watch YouTube and have his mom make him food.
So will the algorithm bring him to us, or will the algorithm bring us to him? How does that work? I don't know.
But I think if we walked up to him and through an interpreter said, "Hey, we are on YouTube," he might come to us and be like, "I know who you guys are. I'm on YouTube."
So if we walked up to him with an interpreter, we'd probably want to put about $5,000 on a 4-leg parlay, because that's apparently what interpreters do around Major League Baseball these days. And we'll get to that.
Good transition.
Thank
By
you.
the way, yesterday, we're coaching our 14-year-old Braves. We're in the Pleasant Hill League, Western Division League.
Go Bravo.
And one of the kids found out that he's like, "Dude, you have a podcast?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't have a podcast. I'm on YouTube." "You have a YouTube channel?" "Oh, dude. Oh my God." The kid went off. It was like, yeah, I was his coach. Yeah, I was teaching him about baseball. But now that he knows I've got a YouTube channel, oh my God. It's like, you could see, Damon, I was in a different class. I suddenly, in this 14-year-old's mind, I'm sitting at the big boy table. Now that because of the YouTube status.
That's something else. When people do get around to asking me, "What do you do?" And I'm like, I skulk around the fact. I'm like, yeah, I'm on YouTube now, and I shouldn't be ashamed of it at all. I'm very excited. I'm proud to be on YouTube.
I'm on you.
But it's not the answer that I'm used to giving for like freaking the last 20 years. It was a major radio. Now I'm on YouTube, and then a person in their 40s or 50s would be like, "Oh, that's great," and that you can buy lunch with that. Like, that's great.
Right.
But
you can do that, huh? You can be there.
Yeah.
I was laughing a few weeks ago listening to FP Santangelo on the radio going, "Yeah, I decided, I didn't want to be in my basement on YouTube, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Dude, laugh it up all you want, buddy."
Yeah, you're going to be in your basement on YouTube eventually. They all are.
I mean, laugh it up, but I guarantee you we're making more money on YouTube than you're making on the radio.
Maybe look at it this way, based on what I know they're paying for fill-in shifts. Yeah, I think we might be. But it's amazing. You tell it to an older person, like, "Yeah, I'm on YouTube." "What do you is it YouTube?" "What, you say it a little clearer for me?" "YouTube." You tell it to a 14-year-old, and the 14, YouTube.
Yeah.
I love that. And believe me, that 14-year-old is your future audience member. So we are officially in the right place. Everyone here who's watching us right now, thank you for being here. You're in the right place too. Larry, let's get into it. We will stop talking about YouTubes and honeymoons and things like that.
What?
Kind of a slow week for the 49ers. Not a lot happened this week, as to be expected in week 2 of free agency, with as many moves as they actually made in week 1. A couple of headlines from this week. The 49ers did sign what I'll call a camp linebacker. Linebacker Ezekiel Turner is now a Niner on a 1-year deal. He was undrafted. He played 6 seasons for Arizona. He appeared in 80 games, only 3 starts though. But he's 27 years old, special teams experience. He's probably got more of a special teams practice squad type of topping out career with the Niners if he were to be elevated to a game day roster at any point in time. So not a sexy signing, but do you have anything on Ezekiel Turner? Would you describe him as a camp linebacker?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, not that he'll be in camp. I mean, so that's good. Now the Niners need to be better on special teams. And the only way you get better on special teams is if you sign some guys who are really good on special teams. And their coverage units have been abysmal for the most part. So a guy like Ezekiel Turner is a commitment, at least in the offseason, to having a couple guys on your roster who truly excel on special teams. So that's really all it's about. I don't know, as far as can I tell you about Ezekiel Turner? He's a light linebacker as far as I think he's like 215, 218. He's not.
Right, he's more of a gunner than he is a linebacker.
Yeah, he's not your from scrimmage linebacker who's going to be 230, 240. But the Niners, if you look at they like, the linebacker in that 220, 225 range anyway. But you've got, Greenlaw coming off the injury. You got Fred Warner. You just signed Devondre Campbell. You got Jalen Graham. You got D. Winters. And you got Curtis Robinson from Stanford as another special team player. And now they add this guy. And they also added Brandon Parker, a veteran offensive lineman who's, kind of not what you're looking for either at offensive tackle, but he's a veteran stopgap.
Right.
So that's kind of what they've done this week.
A little bit of a camp tackle, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah. Now he may be a camp tackle.
For those of you, I realize some people maybe don't understand what I say. So there's a saying about a quarterback. You're the fourth or fifth quarterback on a team for training camp. Is just a camp quarterback. So he's a guy to give your starters looks more than he's a guy who's going to be playing for you. That's what I mean by that. And by the way, you have to be a spectacular A+ professional athlete to be a camp anything, to be involved on the field in any way, shape, or form.
Why are you ripping these guys?
Yeah, I'm not trying to rip anybody here, but camp.
Did you hear what Damon Bruce said on Wake Up? He's calling these guys camp linebackers now.
Dude, he called you a camp linebacker, man. You going to let that happen?
You going to let that roll?
He did it on YouTube. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Jung-Hoo Lee heard? Dude. Anyway, free agent safety Julian Blackmon visited the 49ers yesterday. Widely reported that the former Indianapolis Colt could be on the radar for the 49ers. He was the 7th ranked safety in the NFL last year. Kind of a bounce back year for him. The year before he popped his Achilles. He's only 25. Our friend David Lombardi, Larry, pointed out that he would be a younger, more cost-efficient version of Justin Simmons. So what if I took any Justin Simmons curiosity off the table and replaced it with Julian Blackmon curiosity? Are you curious?
I think that's a good assessment by Dave. I mean, Julian Blackmon used to play the corner. I think when you look at the Niners safeties, I really think that both Hufanga and Jair Brown are better strong safeties, up in the box, not covering the deep middle. Now, Brown does have a great nose for the football, and he's been a productive interceptor. But in a lot of ways, he's kind of a younger version of Tayshaun Gibson. And what I mean by that is you can play him in the box as a strong safety. You can play him at free safety, but he's not going to cover anybody really well. He's just going to, he's going to intercept the ball. He's got good hands. He's got good hands, and he'll intercept the football if the ball is overthrown. But he's not a great cover guy. So I think what they're looking for in Blackmon is somebody that can actually, in a man-to-man coverage situation, cover down the field. In a cover 3 situation, can play the deep middle. Think of Cam Chancellor in the Legion of Boom as the box safety, the strong safety, the hitter. And then think of Earl Thomas as the guy who covers all the ground. Well, the Niners don't really have that guy who covers all the ground.
And the Earl Thomas.
He'd be the Earl Thomas. He'd be the guy who covers ground and gives you that coverage player. So I hope they get him.
Do you think Jair Brown can become that type of player? Or is his just body type and his game wired to playing forward, not backwards?
I think he can. But to what degree? I mean, I think when you watch him, you can see his strengths really clearly. He'll step up like a linebacker in the hole and really hit you, and he'll come down with a couple key passes. But as far as the coverage, it's just okay. And then, like George Odom's a special teamer. Eric Harris is more of a practice squad guy. Probably their best pure cover guy is Taylor Hawkins at free safety. So that's why they feel like they have a need there.
There's been so much talk about free safety, or safety, I should say, from, Lynch and guys like you and me who talk about this. Do you think that there's any interest in safety here beyond injury concerns to Hufanga? Do you think that they are cooling on Hufanga beyond the repaired ACL? That they are now, kind of like looking at it like we've got a redundancy here and we got to get lighter on our feet in the passing game at safety here. And is that why are they looking to add depth, or are they really thinking we need to get better than Hufanga can give us?
Well, they like Hufanga, but And don't get me wrong, Hufanga's a tremendous talent.
Still
But
so young in his career.
But he was hurt a ton at USC, and now he's in the league. He's been hurt multiple times with the Niners and missed a number of games. They're just trying to protect themselves, I'm sure, against injury. This is a player that has, if somebody's hurt in college, they're suggesting to you they could be hurt in the pros. When they're hurt in college and the pros, they're screaming to you, hey, you know what? You need to bolster the depth around me. And that's like what I'm saying. They have Brown and Hufanga. Gibson's a free agent, probably going somewhere else. Odom's a special teamer. Harris is a practice squad guy. Hawkins is just a tad bit better than Harris as far as a practice squad guy. They need numbers. So they're going to draft a safety or two. They're going to sign a safety. I think they have legitimate interest in adding Julian Blackmon if they can, or if not Blackmon, somebody else who they feel can cover as a free safety.
So you're talking about depth. Improving depth obviously will be, front and center of the things that the Niners need to do when they get into the NFL draft, which is about a month away. You and I have been bandying about who we both think could be the selection at 31. I've been on the Tyler Guyton offensive tackle, 6'7", 328-pound offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, who I've seen in a few mocks there. If the Niners do stick and stay at 31, could fall to them. I've seen him slip to the second round. I've also seen him go as high as, late teens. So depending on if he's there, I like Tyler Guyton an awful lot. He's a little bit more of a run blocking tackle than a pass blocking tackle. And I think any offensive line has to be with a little pass pro in it, since that was sort of the weak spot last year. And that brought me to another name, Larry. Amarius Mims is now who I like, and he's probably gone by 31. As a matter of fact, I saw a Yahoo mock draft that had the Niners trading up to 22 with Philadelphia to take Amarius Mims, who's a 6'7", 340-pound tackle who only started 8 games for the Bulldogs, but he is just all kinds of tooled up, and like in the first sentence of any bio about Amarius Mims, you'll see the phrase, could have the highest ceiling of any tackle in this draft. Little bit raw, not exactly plug and play. He did start at right tackle, but again, only started 8 games for the Bulldogs, and he's young. He's 21 and won't be 22 until October. So he's a young 21, Larry. What do you think of Amarius Mims? He's a house.
He's the physical prototype is what he is. I mean, if you saw him, you'd be like, yep.
I watched
that's what you're looking for.
I watched 30 seconds YouTube video, and I'm like, about Tyler Guyton, forget about it. I'm on Team Mims now.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'8", 350. And he's got ridiculous long arms. He's got just a perfectly distributed weight deal. He looks lean at 350 pounds. This guy, played right tackle in 7 games this year. He made 6 starts. He hasn't played a lot.
He hasn't played a lot, but he's got an awful lot to work with, and he could be a successor to Trent. He could start at right, shift to left.
If everything goes right. I really like his, when you watch him initially, you're like, whoa, look at this guy, man, 6'8", 340, 350, pretty lean. He's very much the physical prototype. If you can coach him up. I'm always just a little concerned about guys who play that infrequently, because in the pros, you got to play, man. You got to play every week. You got to play every game. And so 8 games makes me a little nervous. Like, does he love football, or is he just born 6'8", 340, and somebody gave him shoulder pads and a helmet and said, get the hell out there?
I mean, I'll just say that there's an awful lot of talent at Georgia that might have prevented you from starting before they went to you. You got to climb that depth chart. And if you're starting at Georgia, you have NFL potential over the last couple of years, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, like Robert Beal is 6'4", 255 and just ripped up and runs sub 4.5. And what did he give the Niners this year? And I love Robert Beal, good dude. talked to him about his killer. He wears the Jordans. His girl got him some Jordans for the playoffs, and he's a great kid and he's got a ton of potential. But how long can you say he's a great kid and has a ton of potential when the games are going on and he's not playing in them? So that's all I would say. I like Mims. I'm a little concerned. I like Guyton a lot against as a run blocker. I actually think though that if I like the tackles further down the road. This is a great tackle draft, right? Alt, Fashanu, Fuaga, Latham, Mims, Guyton, Morgan, Patrick Paul. All those guys are going in the top 50, they think. But if you go further down the line, I think that's where you really get the there's a whole nother tier of tackles that I really love. Sumatea from BYU, Javon Foster from Missouri, Christian Jones from Texas, Ladarius Henderson from Michigan, Garrett Greenfield looked tremendous at South Dakota State.
Are any of those guys potential to be week one starters, though? I mean, would any of those guys come to camp and challenge Colton McKivitz instantly?
I don't know that anybody outside of, to be honest, I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. Who do you think is actually plug and play? I would say there's 4. Alt, Fashanu, Fuaga, and Latham. I think everybody else is going to need a little bit of time. Maybe Guyton could be ready to slide in because he did play right tackle last year. And obviously the need is at right tackle. I think the rest of these guys, though, are going to have to take some time. And don't be surprised if the Niners decide they want to bolster their offensive line. That the center from West Virginia is just monster. I love offensive linemen that have a wrestling background. This kid has a wrestling background. He's from West Virginia. He's about 310 pounds. Zach Frazier. And, man, I wouldn't have a problem if they took Zach Frazier. I mean, he is a dominating center who could be a Pro Bowl caliber center for the next decade. So, they could go center. I'll say this. There was a guy yesterday in Columbus was the Buckeye Pro Day. And the Buckeye Pro Day is like, you got to check that out, right? Because, I mean, the Buckeyes have so much talent. Well, they have a defensive lineman who's kind of a 3 technique. And, he could be even a 5 technique because he's such a good mover. His name is Michael Hall Jr., not to be confused with Anthony Michael Hall. But Michael Hall Jr., he wore 51 for the Buckeyes. This guy was one of my favorite players to watch this year. Incredibly quick at 295 pounds. He ran yesterday 4.76. I mean, to put that in perspective, Aaron Donald ran 4.68. So Aaron Donald was amazing. But this guy at 300 pounds ran 4.76. And he had a 33-inch vertical, a 9.3 broad, 24 reps on the bench. And then when you watch him, you're like, wow, this guy can really rush the passer. He's one of the youngest players in the draft. He doesn't turn 21 until July. The scouts always love that. He was second in the nation among defensive tackles to Byron Murphy in pass rush win rate. He won 18% of the time this year. So I don't, he's marked in the high 3rd, late 2nd. Now with this workout, he's going to go higher than that. But if I were the Niners, if I could find a way to get an offensive lineman with that first pick, and then maybe even trade back a couple of spots and see if you could maneuver to move up in the 2nd round a little bit, man, I'd love to have Michael Hall. Because if you could put Michael Hall on this line, with what they already have, man, that would be really scary. So the Buckeye, I like the Buckeye.
Let's go back to something we were talking about on Wednesday. It was Patrick Surtain and a possible trade with the Denver Broncos to add an A+ shutdown corner. And to do that, you're giving up your 1st round pick, are you not? So would you be willing to take any?
Maybe not this year. Maybe not this year. I think the price tag for Surtain is probably a 1, a 2, and a 3. But maybe you could go 2 and 3 this year, 1 or conditional 2 or 1 next year. Maybe you could structure the deal that way. If I were the Niners, that's the way I would want to do it. But yeah, I think Surtain is absolutely is a possibility for the 49ers. I mean, there's a right and wrong time to trade for a veteran, and the Niners right now are in that window, and Lynch knows it. He's smart. They're in that window to trade for the veteran. Why? Because you're going to get a first round pick, let's say. There's a hit rate and then there's a miss rate on these picks. If the Niners miss on their first or second round pick in this next draft, that's going to dramatically hurt their chances of winning the Super Bowl. If you can somehow turn one of those high picks or a couple of those high picks into an all-world corner who's going to come in and play great ball, you don't have to wonder.
Right. You're like Forrest Gump. At least we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Right. I mean, you get Surtain, and Denver doesn't have a quarterback. Denver's in an obvious rebuild.
Right. They don't need a number one corner. They don't.
I mean, everybody does, but like they're rebuilding. Rebuilding
right.
Teams need picks.
Right.
Lots of them. And the Niners have, because of how they've gone through free agency, they don't have very many needs. I mean, if you said the Niners needs, there's like 4 or 5. They need a tight end, backup tight end, maybe a future starter. They could use one more D lineman. They could use a number one corner, and they could use some young offensive linemen. I mean, those are their needs, and they've got 10 picks. So this is the perfect opportunity to go to Denver and see if you can, get them interested in a deal. And if you can, and I think the Niners may, and the reason for it is I think they learned their lesson in the Super Bowl. The Niners lost the Super Bowl because of Trent McDuffie, because of L'Jarius Sneed, because those guys were really, really good.
They put the clamps on Debo and Aiyuk. Clamps.
Yeah, and even Spagnuolo admitted, he's like, oh, yeah, man, those guys enabled us to do so much defensively. So, I mean, the Niners have Demo and they have Ward, and they're both pretty solid. But if you could add a Surtain, now you're on a different level. And I think they're going to investigate it fully. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I know they're going to make calls, and I'm pretty sure they're going to try for it.
So there you go. It is the Friday of free agency, week 2, closer and closer. We get a month away now from the NFL draft, and we hope that you keep on coming on back Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8:30 a.m. West Coast time for a little wake up with Damon and Larry. Please hit like and subscribe. Before we sort of turn our attention to a few other major headlines in the world of sports, anything else on the Niners that you got to get off your chest on this show today, Larry?
Let me think about that for a second.
Like, we don't have any more rumors or innuendo to spread about Brandon Aiyuk. We've all seen the Pittsburgh Steelers pinging on the radar, but nothing much more than the initial story of Pittsburgh Steelers pinging on the radar has come of that. I was even texting with Kevin last night and just saying, I think the Aiyuk thing's been done to death. There's really nothing much more to talk about there until something happens.
Yeah, I mean, the report came out yesterday that that the 49ers will listen to trades for Brandon Aiyuk through the end of the first round. So that tells you what their price tag is. They want a first round pick. The interesting thing is the 3 teams named are Jacksonville, New England, and Pittsburgh. And if you say, well, why Jacksonville and Pittsburgh? Well, there's lots of good. Well, they need receivers, but also Trent Baalke's fired at the end of the year. And I don't think Mike Tomlin has forever. And they haven't won a playoff game in 5 years. I think there'll be some hand wringing in Pittsburgh if they don't start winning a playoff game one of these days. He gets that. Otherwise, they could go young receivers. But when teams want a veteran receiver, usually that means that we need a receiver, because the drafts every year are littered with tons of receivers. It's like it basically is like, we need a receiver, and if we don't get this right, my ass is fired.
Right. You need a day one player is what you need.
You need somebody who's not a question mark. You need it for sure. The other thing with New England's kind of interesting. They pick third. I could see, there's no way they're trading the third pick for Brandon Aiyuk. But if they decide they don't want either Drake May or Jaden Daniels, and they trade out of 3, and they start trading down in the first round, I could see them being a team. Because if you don't want, their offense sucks. New England's offense is terrible. If you don't want like the real bite of the apple into the future, the Drake May, the Jaden Daniels, then you probably want somebody to help your offense like immediately. And so if they start moving down into the teens, I could see the Patriots, trading down 2 times, accumulating more picks, and then trading that mid-first to the Niners for Aiyuk, and just trying to get started on their offensive rebuild with somebody they know can play.
Right. And New England's absolutely approaching this as a long game. There's no pressure to get anything done this year in New England. So they could be kicking the can down the road, like you're saying. Dude, the desire of Drake May or Jaden Daniels in this draft is going to affect the entire flow of the first round. I mean, do we have 6 quarterbacks off the board in the first round, or do we have 4 or just 3 quarterbacks off the board in the first round? Everyone's, loves to be associated with a quarterback rumor. It's good for clicks. It's good for attention. But to pull the trigger in the first round on a quarterback is something that GMs, they look like they're about to do, but then they get cold feet and then they start trading.
Because the failure rate is off the charts. I mean, it's hilarious. We do this every year. Caleb Williams is going to be awesome. Drake May is going to be awesome. Jaden Daniels takes your breath away. J.J. McCarthy is a winner. Michael Penix Jr., are you kidding me? That guy's special. Bo Nix was like 40-2. And then 5 years later, they all suck.
Right.
And it's like,
and
then
everybody's Akili Smith. Everyone.
Yeah. Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and Justin Fields are all being traded for, late day 3 picks. So history tells you that there are probably going to be 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. And of those 6, probably 4 of them are going to be busts. So find the 2 that aren't going to be busts. And it's a real challenge. So
it ain't easy. It ain't easy. Again, like and subscribe. It's great to have you here. It's Wake Up with Damon and Larry, and all bets are action, which brings us to really the biggest story out there that isn't involved with the NCAA tournament. And by the way, day 1 of the NCAA tournament, I'm giving it a B-. Couple of interesting games at the end. Oakland knocking out Kentucky was awesome. Good.
Who is that guy for Oakland? That guy looks like he's 35.
He looks like a retired cop. He does. He looks,
it's like, what's up with that?
He's the most, that guy might be a cop NCAA player I've seen in a really long time. But dude, he was lights out and he shot Kentucky out of the tournament. For that, I could tithe, some of my paycheck to him for the rest of my life. Anyone who makes Kentucky go home is all right by me.
Is Calipari overrated?
Oh, totally. Totally he is. He's never been a great strategic coach. He's just an incredible collector of talent, and he doesn't quite do that like he used to anymore. So there's talk about him being on a hot seat. But he also, he
can recruit. He's an ordinary coach. I mean, I thought they were so strong with Pitino when they played with tempo and up and down, and it was
Pitino's
like
an actual coach. Like Pitino,
I mean, they played at a really fast pace. Now it's like you're looking at them, and they used to play defense, and now it's like they don't really play defense. They just they get high recruits. They play offense. They haven't won in a while, and they get
defense is now optional in the sport of basketball, apparently. So that's kind of a problem that basketball has. But anyways, we'll hop back into the tournament just a little bit at the end of the show. But in order to keep the show in our, we want to go about 45 minutes. We're about 45 minutes right now, so we're going to go a little longer for you today. This story with Shohei Ohtani is absolutely unbelievable, Larry. And we do have lying on the record. There's no doubt about that. When you have 2 stories that are this different, we have somebody lying for sure. And I love Shohei Ohtani. I think he's the most spectacular baseball player in the history of the sport of baseball. I don't want to dislike Shohei Ohtani. I am not anti-Ohtani because he now wears a Dodger uniform. I want nothing but unicorns and rainbows for that guy. So to have him,
why?
Because
Why do you love?
He's incredible. He's incredible.
Ohtani
He's got a skill set that's never existed in a human being, but for maybe one of them. And believe me, the stories of Babe Ruth are much more stories than they are fact. We're watching Shohei Ohtani throw sliders with 18-inch break and lead the league in home runs at the same time. He's a guy who can lead the league in home runs or win a Cy Young. With all due respect to Willie Mays and all the greats and well-rounded players, there's nobody who's ever been as tooled up as this guy in the history of the sport. He is in a photo of one, a class photo of one, and maybe Babe Ruth is in this photo, but Babe Ruth never even played against a black player. Babe Ruth never saw 18 inches of break on nothing. So, it's Shohei Ohtani is here. Everyone in the history of baseball is underneath him in terms of talent. That's in my mind. You have a different opinion, you go right ahead, you have your opinion. But I am here to tell you he's the single greatest baseball player ever born based on what he's done and accomplished at the major league level. So I think he's just fascinating. Plus, you hear everything about him, which until 48 hours ago was just pristine and lovely and beautiful. And he's a charmer and he's smiling and his teammates love him and his interpreter is a great guy too. And everything about the package is something that I really, really liked. And now I'm telling you with absolutely no confusion, Shohei Ohtani needs to be indefinitely suspended by Major League Baseball until they have the answers to the questions that they're not even really probing right now. If this were Mike Yastrzemski, Larry, what if I told you Mike Yastrzemski just paid off a $4.5 million debt? Like, I'm not even going to use the word gambling yet. I'm just going to tell you, Mike Yastrzemski has paid off a $4.5 million debt for a buddy of his. Wouldn't that make you, on just that alone, go, well, wait a minute. We need to see what the hell's going on there. Is Major League Baseball trying to take Shohei Ohtani's word on this? Like, dude, there are conflicting stories from his interpreter about how this whole thing went down. And then it feels like Team Ohtani realized that left Ohtani way too exposed. And then they let him twist in the wind and they said, this guy's a liar and I'm a victim of fraud and theft. And I'm just going to tell you this right now, dude. You and I were just in Las Vegas together. In the history of gambling, have you ever known anyone who came into the gambling equation only to pay the debt? That's it. I wasn't involved in any of this. I didn't know of anything. I wasn't talking to my best friend who was placing $4.5 million of bad bets over the course of 3 years. We didn't talk about it once. We're inseparable. We're best of friends. But we didn't talk about it once. I only arrived at the portion of the gambling equation that was the payment. And here's the deal. The guy who pays is the gambler, folks. That's it. Shohei Ohtani might not have been involved in this, but then he got involved in it the minute he cut those checks. He needs to be suspended indefinitely, Larry, right now. And there needs to be an investigation that could take the entire year, certainly to the All-Star break. And that's just, that sucks for baseball. And I don't think baseball's going to do it. I think baseball sees Ohtani as an economy unto himself, and they don't want to ruffle that feather. I think baseball is too chicken shit to come down on Ohtani like they would have, had this been Barry Bonds, he'd already be in handcuffs.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. There has to be an investigation, but it has to be independent of baseball. It can't be a baseball-led investigation. You can't have the people who own Disneyland investigating Mickey Mouse. It's got to be somebody else. Give you an example.
Well, the FBI will be involved because this is an illegal bookmaking thing in Southern California.
But MLB cannot lead the investigation. That's the point.
No, but they have to
MLB cannot lead the investigation.
But they're not even conducting one yet, Larry.
I know. Well, not only that, go to MLB Trade Rumors, which is one of the biggest baseball sites there is. They list all the top stories in the margin on the right. The top story this morning, Mets to sign J.D. Martinez. Number 2, Rangers to sign Michael Lorenzen. Number 3, Ohtani's interpreter fired, accused of theft and illegal gambling. Number 4, Yankees Jordan Montgomery have reopened discussions. Well, then you go into the body of their stories. They've got the top, all the stories there except for the Ohtani story. The Ohtani story you have to click on to get to. What does that tell you? They're trying to bury the Ohtani story.
Oh, they want this
MLB
to go away.
trade rumors. We're talking about just a website they're trying to bury it. So if they're trying to bury it, MLB is trying to bury it. There's a lot here. I don't believe, and nobody should, the two stories. One of those stories is total fabrication. The Dodgers fired Ippei Mizuhara on Wednesday evening, who was working as Ohtani's personal interpreter, and they've been friends dating back to well before he signed with the Angels in 2017. He can't say, "Oh, you know what? Some guy that I didn't know duped me." No. This guy well.
Right, and they can't claim like cultural ignorance, like we're from Japan, we just got here. Mitsuhara has been in the United States for a quarter century. Right. They know the rules. They know what they were. Somebody is gambling.
It was first reported.
And then at the end of that, Ohtani paid. So whether he was gambling or not, the guy who paid is the gambler. That's how it works, folks.
Well, and he's got obviously the money.
Exactly.
Who knows?
What interpreter is getting a $4.5 million line of credit from an illegal Southern California bookmaker? So
why would a player pay a penny of that? Why would a player pay a penny of that when he knows the obvious optics? The optics are terrible. So the LA Times first reported the news, and there's a probe going on into an alleged illegal gambling operation in Southern California. The attorneys for Ohtani told the LA Times that Ohtani had been the victim of a massive theft. For those of you who are not following this story, he had been a victim of a massive theft. And it didn't say who had actually committed the theft, but the implication was that his interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, did so. So, then ESPN's Tisha Thompson reported that upwards of $4.5 million had been wired from a bank account in Ohtani's name to the alleged gambling ring. So, it's just this. I agree. There has to be an investigation. It has to be a credible investigation. It can't be, the NFL is investigating Patrick Mahomes. It's like, well, what incentive do they have to bury the Super Bowl winning quarterback?
As a matter of fact, they have zero incentive. They have incentive to clear him. And so does Major League Baseball. And let's face it, Ohtani is worth by himself what franchises used to be worth. He's the $700 million man, and his global reach is worth 10 times that to Major League Baseball. So this is a flame that they do not want to extinguish, of course, but they have to. They have to. And this is where we get to officially call Rob Manfred an absolute chicken shit and it disqualified for the job of Major League Commissioner if he's not, enough of a sheriff to walk into the saloon and say, whoa, we got a problem here, boys. We got to step outside and figure this one out before anybody goes about their business. This is a massive scandal. And it was made so by Team Ohtani itself when they sent Ippei Mizuhara into an interview that then they immediately disavowed and changed their story on. It went from Ohtani paid himself, specifically himself, like typed in the word loan, hit send himself on any wire transfer, to Ohtani has been, what did he rob from himself?
Yeah,
and his boy
for people people don't know the rules. MLB players, MLB employees are prohibited from placing bets on baseball. They are allowed to place bets on other sports, but they can't place bets on baseball. I mean, there has to be a huge investigation here. It all points to Ohtani having the gambling problem. He's the guy who's cut the check. He's the guy with the big bucks. And here's the problem. And we saw it during the Super Bowl. There were no NFL players, in the casinos. The Niners and Chiefs stayed way, way away. As for no active players for the game in the Super Bowl were in Vegas. So they carried it out. But as soon as the game ended, where did 10% of the players head to the casino to gamble? So, they're people. They like to gamble like anybody else.
And here's the thing. I don't have a problem with guys gambling on sports they're not involved in. And I don't have a problem with guys playing blackjack or, roulette or craps or whatever. But the problem is, and this is where the proliferation of gambling is just being all kinds of normal now, is going to confuse the matter very, very much. It's not you winning that anyone is worried about. It's you losing. And it's now you being open.
Oh, it's being compromised.
Being exposed. Exactly, Larry. It's you are in how much debt? Well, now you can be compromised. You may now be led into a decision that you would have never made until you dug a hole like this for yourself. $4.5 million for Ohtani is not a lot of money. It really isn't. But it's still an exposure that he has found himself in. And I just think there needs to be answers, and he can't take another swing for the Dodgers until we have these answers. Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic wrote about this, Larry, saying, after offering contradictory accounts to ESPN early in the week, Matsuhara has not responded to requests for comments. Neither has Nez Ballo, who is Ohtani's longtime representative from Creative CAA. Dodgers president Stan Kasdan and president of baseball operations Andrew Friedman are not taking questions. MLB officials have declined to weigh in other than to indicate that Ohtani is not currently subject to discipline from the league.
There's a parade of people at his locker every day, and they're not getting answers. They're just basically they're being nervously shuttled around. They can only play that game for 2-3 days. Eventually they're going to have to address this head on. And this Mitsuhara has told sources that Ohtani doesn't gamble, that the wire transfers covered losses, which the interpreter said he racked up alone.
Let me ask you, do we have any evidence Shohei Ohtani's a big soccer fan? Is he a big soccer fan?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But if he's a card carrying, I'm a big soccer fan, and most of these wagers are coming on soccer games, that he's now going to deny, I've got nothing to do with them, but my very best, most confidant, personal friend is all over gambling on these games. And I never say, let me get some of that action. Again, I don't fucking care whether Ohtani or not placed the bet. He paid for the bet. Therefore, it's his. That's it. Yeah,
but this is the problem with Vegas and gambling, being, with these sports leagues embracing gambling. For example, this Matthew Boyer, the alleged bookmaker, said in a statement to ESPN that he never met or spoke with Ohtani. So what? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Ohtani could be betting massive amounts of money through Mizuhara, and it looks like that's exactly what was going on here. So, there is no, if I'm a professional athlete and I have millions of dollars and it's against the rules for me to bet, okay, but I have friends and they can bet and I can give them money. You know what I mean? It's such an easy end around that it's like, to think that nobody's ever done this before is probably naive.
But the truth is, money is traceable. And every wager does come with an element of a paper trail to it. And where the truth will come from is when they get into Matthew Boyer's records and they start aligning bets, bank account activity, and cell phone activity. For however bets were made with the illegal Southern California bookie, this is how they got Pete Rose. They forensically took apart the hour in which a bet was made. Call comes from this office into this office. Call from Pete Rose's phone to a phone in Las Vegas. Call from that phone goes to a book, and then that's how they got him.
The Dowd report.
The
I mean,
Dowd report.
if you think about that, though, that was a totally different time that Faye Vincent was an independent commissioner, and John Dowd conducted, I think, a largely credible investigation of Rose.
And also,
Pete Rose had no value. He had no value to MLB at that time. He was just a manager. He wasn't a revenue stream.
Right.
Shohei Ohtani is the biggest international revenue stream that Major League Baseball has to offer. He is the biggest name on the biggest team in one of the biggest markets. It's like they're talk about oversight. There needs to be somebody in addition to MLB who's absolutely overseeing every element of this investigation, or baseball is going to lose massive amounts of credibility if they haven't already.
I could see Major League Baseball making the internal decision to cover this up, to clean this up, protect Ohtani at all costs, even at the risk of losing credibility. Because I don't think people care about credibility anymore. Certainly not over profitability.
Oh, no. People absolutely care if these games are on the level. If baseball, basketball, football, if any of these sports are ever deemed to be wrestling, they're cooked.
Right. But here's the thing. Baseball gets to park all of this in the garage of, well, it wasn't betting on baseball. So, look elsewhere. Nothing
that we know of.
Right. Exactly. That we know of. And if you're willing to tell a sequence of lies, at what point are you unwilling to lie? So I'm just saying, there's a T-Dub says Damon is salty in reaching here. No. Just because you're devoid of standards and don't know the difference between right and wrong and are willing to just live in a world of gray and black and white doesn't exist for you, it still exists on this issue for me. Gambling is the ultimate no-go, do not, can't happen thing in sports. Because like you just said, it would unravel the entire ball faster than anything else.
Well, people nobody's going to spend lots and lots of money watching pro sports if they don't think that they're watching a legitimate, honest competition. That's a big part of it. There'll still be people that will want to watch it, but it won't have the same place if it's not on the level, or if it's questionable if it's on the level.
Right. And here's the thing.
And baseball's hurting. This is the other thing about this. It's the climate that is so concerning. Baseball is in over its head. They've had their season ripped away from them. Every month of the baseball season is less important than it used to be. They start in March, they're battling the tournament. They go in April, they're battling the draft. They go in May and June, they're battling the NBA playoffs. By the time they get to July, it's NBA Summer League. When they get to mid-July to late August, now it's the NFL. Baseball is under attack, and doesn't have near the place in our minds. I mean, ESPN, go to ESPN right now and look at the sports they have listed that you can click on. None of them are baseball. You have to go hunt for baseball.
Right. You have to find them in the menu.
In the menu, you can find baseball. But if you go to the top of ESPN right now, ESPN.com, the biggest sports site in America, it says it's got their tournament play thing, the NFL, NBA, NCAA basketball, NCAA women's basketball, NHL, soccer, and then a plus where you can then go hunt down baseball. Baseball used to be right there. It was NFL, MLB, NBA. Now baseball is down. It goes NFL, NBA, the tournament for men, the tournament for women, the NHL, soccer, then MLB. And that's only because we're in the offseason for college football. If college football were in season, that would be in front of MLB. So MLB is way, way down the list.
Well, and let's be honest, Larry, given another year or two, transfer portals is going to be a bigger topic than than baseball. Transfer portals in basketball, transfer portals in football. That's going to be the fourth biggest sport that baseball is now finding itself behind, monitoring transfer portals. So, yeah, baseball is a little bit under attack, and baseball needs to do everything it can to defend itself. And if sacrificing Shohei Ohtani on the altar of we ain't cheating over here has to happen, it has to happen. But I don't know if Rob Manfred and those have the gumption or the balls to do that anymore. And let's be honest, Larry, these leagues now and franchise valuations are tied directly to the business relationship that all these leagues have with gambling houses now. And
right.
This is just, I mean, it's, dude, Pandora's box
just like
is going to open wide.
Here's the thing. There's a great, by the way, Joe Schmo says I'm the 69th like.
Nice.
If everybody in here could give us a like and a subscribe, we'd appreciate it. Subscribe to Damon's channel, subscribe to the Krug Show, and hit like. If you hit like, more people find the show in the algorithm. If everybody takes 1 minute and just hits like, we'll have quite a few more people in here. And then, of course, hit subscribe over at Damon's Place or here on the Krug Show, either spot. And every time we go live, you'll get an alert that we're going live.
Hit notify.
What's that?
Hit notify. That notify button.
There you go. Make sure you click that bell, that notification bell, and you'll be alerted every time we go live. And that being said, now I forgot what I was going to get into. But
Joe Schmo with his 69th like. We need more than 69 likes. Get it out there, folks. Hit that like button.
Yeah, hit the like and subscribe. I was just going to say that baseball is in a real weird spot right now. And it's like this is their golden goose. So what do they do? And everybody else is going to be watching this with such intent. And the fact that this is in the second largest market in the country, makes it so that, you know what, you can't bury it. It's like there's too many people in LA, too many media people. Wait till the Dodgers get back to America.
Wait till the Dodgers get back to this. All this happened, and they're over in South Korea. Once they land at LAX, the knives are going to be out for this story because the first one to get to the bottom of it is going to get an awful lot of attention. This is a global story, so it's big, and to deny it being big is to have your head in the sand. This is huge. Now, Dale, who is listening, watching on my channel, and is all over, I think, both of our channels, Larry. Dale says something here that's very funny, but in his joke, there is an awful lot of truth of why this isn't a bigger story in some areas. Dale writes, welcome back to SportsCenter, presented by ESPN Bets. For more on the Ohtani situation, we'll go to our FanDuel MLB insider, Jeff Passan, at our DraftKings studio in Los Angeles, brought to you by Caesars. And he's right. He's right. Not only are these teams themselves deeply involved in gambling and gambling revenue now, but the networks that cover the teams and the sports that we care about are deeply involved as well. There's enough gambling is important to our bottom line sitting on the side of the table that controls big decisions to where this story just, it's got to go.
The Krug Show brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, by the way.
It's your fault, Larry. You're part of the problem.
What do you think of this comment? Barry Ford says, I just don't think that the average fan gives a rat's ass about players betting. They certainly don't want players getting caught, convicted, and taken out of the game. Yeah, but, here's the thing. If all of a sudden you felt like baseball wasn't on the level, you wouldn't go anymore. If football is hugely involved in gambling. What do you think fantasy is? Gambling. What do you think FanDuel? That's all gambling. Daily fantasy. It's all gambling. The secret of the NFL is violence, appointment television, and gambling. Gambling is and what I was going to say that I forgot before is there's an awesome show that you guys all should watch. It's called The Backstory with Don Van Atta, who was a investigative journalist who investigated the Clinton White House. he's worked for ESPN. I believe the show has been canceled, but he put out some really good shows, and one was on Manti Te'o's girlfriend, one was on, Serena screaming at the line judge, and one of them was on Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose, and whether or not, how baseball has had this kind of weird ongoing relationship with gambling. And he points out in the piece, in the backstory, and it's all, you can catch it. It's out there for everybody. It's on YouTube. It's called The Backstory with Don Van Atta. And in this thing, he basically just kind of shows that in their origins, gambling is one of the things that made baseball popular. Baseball loved gambling until they didn't. And now they hate gambling until they didn't. And now we're in this weird spot where, Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame, but there's gambling kiosks at like 5 stadiums in Major League Baseball. Baseball embraced gambling in the early days. And it wasn't until
the minute they could become the house. That was it.
It wasn't until 1917, 1918 that the rumors of the gambling became such that it started showing up in the papers. And then in 1918, the Cubs got in trouble, or there was a whole story written about the Cubs and their gambling. And then in 1919, the White Sox threw the World Series and became the Black Sox and were kicked out of baseball by Kennesaw Mountain Landis forever. And that was baseball trying to stand up to the gamblers, but they had embraced these gamblers just a few years prior to that. So then you got Pete Rose, and it's like, Pete, what's the downside? Pete's like, I never bet against my team. I only bet for my team. Yeah, but here's the downside, Pete. You're the manager. You're playing a Friday night game. You have no money on the table. You play it straight. Now it's Saturday afternoon. You got $5,000 on your team to win. Now you're going to use certain relievers that you absolutely know are your best relievers.
Now here comes Rob Dibble for a 4-out save.
Right. Now you're going to use your grade A relievers. I mean, every bullpen in the big leagues is made up of 3 relievers you want to use and 2 or 3 relievers that you're going to use in mop-up. Well, Pete could use his mop-up relievers. If he knew he had nothing on the game, he could use his mop-up guys. If he knew he had big money on the game, he could use his grade A guys. So the game was being manipulated for gambling purposes, and that's what MLB needs to stay away from.
Too, Larry. The other element of that is, so Pete's laying off the Reds tonight. I guess we should too. You know what I mean?
Right.
When Pete's not betting on his team to win, that is a sign in itself. So,
right.
It's all connected. And Barry, love you, Barry. It says here, I don't think that the average fan gives a rat ass. The average fan cannot be the arbiter of what matters. The average fan doesn't know enough to make the important decision. And if you were, so raised in a barn that you think that standards applied to anything anymore, people really don't care about, that can't happen. We can't sink to that level of, well, no one fucking cares. So just go ahead. That can't happen. That can't happen. So.
No, I mean, people are missing the boat. Yeah, there's a lot of interactive things. There's lots of poll questions you can answer and this and that, and people can, but so what? I mean, the game, the people who are the guardians of the game, in this case, Rob Manfred, whoever the head of the union is, whoever the head of the umpires union is, these people they're not MLB. They're just 2024 guardians of MLB, right? So they owe it to the past and the future, people who run this sport to do the right thing. Just because the fans don't really care and they just want to sit in the sun and watch the game. Yeah, but guess what? They're going to sit in the sun and watch something else as soon as the game's not on the level. It has to be a legitimate competition, or these sports lose everything. Why do you think MLB has been so incredibly direct with their players about, why did they kick Pete Rose out of the sport? Why is shoeless Joe Jackson not
Well,
involved in the Hall of Fame?
What the NFL has been doing. Like the NFL disciplined 6 Detroit Lions. A few guys got thrown out of the league. Calvin Ridley got
a year long. Yeah.
For betting like, $2,500 on a DraftKings parlay or something
because
like
it could be zero tolerance for compromising the integrity of the competition. If you don't have the integrity of the competition, you don't have anything, regardless of what any fan may vote in a poll.
The best thing I saw about somebody reacting to the Shohei Ohtani news was, well, as a hitter, you really can't affect the outcome of a game. So Ohtani's in a clear here because in order to really affect the outcome of the game, you got to be a starting pitcher. Oh, wait.
Yeah. How about this one, James Foster? Maybe Chase Young is a gambler.
Maybe he had the Lions. Or like Gibbs on a yardage total or over under or something. That's why he was only jogging after him.
Right. I mean, now every time you see questionable effort, you're going to wonder if the gamblers got to the pro athletes. And here's the thing that's so, I don't know if you call it maddening or if you want to call it frustrating or what. Deep down, if Shohei Ohtani wants to utilize a friend to gamble and understands what the people that are governing the sport are looking for, he can still get around it. You say money's traceable. Cash isn't, not between friends.
Right.
So this, there's all kinds of ways to come up with big grips of cash and pay off a friend.
And the whole point about this Ohtani thing is, even if it is as on the level and unfishy and not scandalous as it could possibly be, he still broke the law because there is a legal way to go about gambling, and he did it illegally in the state of California, where gambling is not yet legal.
Well, we don't know that he did it, but his intermediary did it, and we think it's him.
Right.
Isn't that the more accurate way right now? Or unless you have some revelation that I don't know of. Right now, we all think that
have a fall guy.
The proof is Mizuhara did it. The assumption is that Ohtani did it. And I believe the assumption because Ohtani's the one with the millions of dollars.
Right. You got to have some real stones on you.
And also Ohtani's the one who's got everything to lose, right? If Ohtani is betting on baseball and it's found out, he has everything to lose. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that there would be somebody else that he's betting through, I mean, you can believe whatever you believe, whatever you want to believe. The optics are horrible.
It cannot happen. That's the thing. It just simply, you cannot exist in baseball with this being a story. And the fact that baseball isn't conducting an investigation, that they haven't greenlit an independent investigation, that everybody's just trying to say, we're no comment. No. This is not a no comment situation. So it's going to be wildly interesting to see where this whole thing goes. And if it goes nowhere, the jig is up. Like the less we hear about it, the more guilty it all looks to me.
No, but it won't go. It won't. We're at a point where it's too big. It's, you're talking about the biggest player in the game in one of the biggest markets. Come on. All these people that investigated Victor Conti and Barry Bonds and Greg Anderson and the Balco thing, all these people are just suddenly going to look the other way now. And I'm nothing to see here because Ohtani smiles and is nice. And, and we like Ohtani and we didn't like Barry. I mean, baseball is not going to be allowed to protect Ohtani. And there's going to be people at his locker every day. I mean, this is the story of the year. It's a nightmare for MLB because it's their biggest player in their biggest market in their big, when he's the headliner.
And look,
the biggest scandal.
The last thing baseball wants to have happen is Shohei Ohtani be indefinitely suspended for the Dodgers home opener. when he's supposed to be hitting third in the lineup. But that has to happen. Until they get to the bottom of this, he needs to be indefinitely suspended. And every at bat he is allowed to take, every game that he's allowed to play in between now and then is an embarrassment to Major League Baseball. And it's absolutely feckless, powerless commissioner who just proves time and time again how bad he is at this, how bad he is at all of this. Rob Manfred is awful at being a commissioner of Major League Baseball. The sport is not in better shape under Rob Manfred's tutelage than it would have been with a randomly selected fan. Could have done better.
Well, he doesn't even like the game. I mean, he called the World Series trophy a hunk of metal.
A hunk of metal.
You know, and all the players were like, dude, what? Rick Beese, his great show, guys, really highlights your professional backgrounds. Won't the California Attorney General trump all the other questions and create a criminal investigation? I don't know who has control in this situation, to be honest. I don't know how that's going to come down. Alive Insurance's interview his teammates on the Angels. They knew that Ohtani was gambling.
Did they? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. They may not. I mean, Ohtani is smart enough to know that what he was doing was wrong. Then I can't believe that he publicized it to too many people. Dale says punished the Dodgers too. They knew they had to. Yeah. They had to have known. Yeah. I mean, this guy, we got this one from Joe Schmo. He says, sucks. Ohtani's such a great story. Hoping he's clean. It will be interesting.
Dude, yeah. I am too. I mean, that's
everybody is.
I don't want him to be guilty of this at all. Not at all. It's the single most, I can't believe this story actually happened story that we've seen in a long time. Like if you told me that Shohei Ohtani spent his offseason rescuing puppies from burning buildings, I would have believed you more than I would have believed this story coming out.
Could you imagine how Giants fans would feel? Excuse me, if this were the massive free agent that they actually landed and then this happened?
By the way, did you see Yamamoto getting absolutely rocked in his first start?
I did. Padres hit around against him in the first. Yamamoto is going to figure it out.
He's going on in the Dodgers clubhouse.
He's going to. I think Yamamoto is going to be terrific. But the Padres had his number, man.
They did. Nice advanced scouting there.
By the way, I didn't watch 1 minute of those games.
Nope. I didn't either.
The timing. I mean, what time did those games start?
Not at the time that I'm going to get up and watch them. That's for sure.
Yeah. I did not watch any of that. No Dodgers Padres from Korea for me.
Yeah.
I am watching a lot of the tournament though. And I'm getting ready to watch Bama or UAB. It's going to be UAB against San Diego State. That's going to be a good game. Well, coming up this morning.
I'm going to do a short show at 11 because, I'm watching the NCAA tournament too. That's what I want to do this afternoon more than I want to.
See, I flipped on the channel that I thought was the NCAA tournament. Now I'm watching some edition of Charmed. Are you a fan of Charmed?
Charmed.
Charming filmed in San Francisco. Alyssa Milano. Speaking of those who know baseball players.
She knows a lot about pitching.
She knows Carl Pavano, right?
She knows Zito,
Carl Pavano,
Kershaw for a minute there. I think.
Maybe she's got a type.
She likes
Dale's.
She likes
Dale says the original Charmed was awesome.
There you go. Dale knows.
Look at that. It's like Charlie's Angels with Farrah Fawcett, the original Charlie's Angels.
By the way, the SEC is having a terrible tournament. Kentucky's been upset. Number 6, South Carolina lost to Oregon. By the way, look out for Oregon in the next round against Creighton. I think they can make noise.
Really? I actually like Creighton. Have you seen Baylor Shireman?
Yes.
He's kind of like a Klay Thompson.
He's a shooter.
He is a freaking awesome shooter.
Wait until you see this kid from Nebraska, this Japanese kid from Nebraska. He's a shooter. The Japanese Steph Curry. Oh, my God.
He's on Creighton? He's on Creighton's team?
No, he's on Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska. Well, but Creighton's also got Kalkbrenner, the big 7-footer. So, and they're well coached. I got Creighton going to the Final Four, man. I got Creighton. Yeah, I got Creighton, Houston, Connecticut, and Bama. Who's in your Final Four?
I got UConn winning it all. I'm
too.
embarrassed by the amount of chalk I have moving on in this tournament. I'm not happy with myself. I'm looking at
you know the way it goes. It's a chalk. There's some upsets in the first 2 rounds, and then it's very chalky.
I'm just happy I had Duquesne, and now Duquesne's going to get beat by Illinois tomorrow.
Illinois barely hung on, man. Illinois looked awesome in the Big Ten tournament. I thought, oh man, the Illini is going to roll in this thing. That Morehead State team they played was damn good.
Yeah,
that was a damn good basketball team.
It was a B- day one of the tournament, though. No, I mean not a single buzzer beater, not a single one shining moment. not one. So hopefully today makes up for that. Normally, if one day is down on the teeter-totter, the other day is up. So I really hope that we get a great day today.
What's the best game of the day today?
It's a good question.
I would say it's going to be Wisconsin, the 5 seed against JMU, James Madison out of Virginia. I like James Madison to pull the upset against the Wisconsin Badgers.
The game of the day today.
That one's going to be good, I think.
Dude, the Nebraska Texas A&M game going off at 3:50 on TNT. That's an 8-9 game. That should be really good. And look,
I'll give you another one. St. Mary's Grand Canyon. St. Mary's is good. St. Mary's was almost perfect this year until Gonzaga roasted them late. But St. Mary's is 26-7, but this Grand Canyon team's 29-4.
But here's the thing: Grand Canyon's 29-4 because they can get out and they can run. St. Mary's
really, your Grand Canyon.
Well, no, I've not any more than my,
Look at you with your Grand Canyon.
But the thing is, St. Mary's says it grinds you down to a nub system. That after Indiana won in the first 4 in Dayton, then had to fly across the country with little prep time against St. Mary's and just got clocked. So St. Mary's is really hard to play. If you're not familiar with what Randy Bennett's running, they're hard to just wear beige and blend against them because they're so married to their system, you can't get them out of it.
Kyle McKiernan says Damon singing just crashed Wake Up. There will be no more following, and if so, it changed to drowsy hop on.
That's fair. That's fair. It really is. One shining moment. It was Luther Vandross. That's why it's so good.
I think that's the kind of the hokiest part of the whole tournament at the end when they play the song.
I love it. I love the tournament's not over until that happens, Larry. I need my one shining moment. Don't take that away from me. Don't take my one shining moment away.
You know what's amazing about college basketball? Literally, the format of this tournament creates everything. You could have, Wisconsin playing James Madison last week. Nobody would give a shit.
No.
But today, with the winner moves on, the loser goes home. First round of the tournament, day 2. Oh my God. Wisconsin, James Madison. I got to catch that. You know what I mean?
We got this tournament offers you 2 things that we get addicted to quickly: consequences and a map. We love sports with maps and consequences. And boy, does this tournament have an awful, awful lot of both. Grambling, upsetting Purdue today. Let Purdue go out to a 16 seed 2 years in a row. The jokes will not, like Indiana not making the tournament won't be a joke anymore. Purdue would be the joke. So there you go. So let that happen and go Grambling. We are all Grambling today, Larry. Larry, we're all Grambling today. We're all Grambling. We're all Grambling.
My daughter's boyfriend, who goes to Gonzaga Law School right now, went to Purdue, and he is a big Purdue fan. So I have Purdue beating Grambling. I have Purdue beating Utah State. I have Purdue beating Gonzaga. I've got Purdue losing to Creighton in the Midwestern Regional.
There we go.
Purdue went out in the first round last year. I don't know if people remember that.
16
but they went out in the first round
ever.
What do you think of Edey?
Edey is Dan Lebitard said this the other day. He's a cancer. He's a cancer on the game of basketball. He is He gets to go to the free throw line 25 times a game. He's the hardest guy to officiate. Nobody can officiate around him. He is not going to be a good pro at all. He's going to top out as Purdue's all-time leading scorer, whatever that's worth. That's worth something. He'll eat for free in West Lafayette. Not that there's a single good restaurant there or a pretty waitress to serve it to you. But, yeah, I hate Zach Edey. He tortured Indiana. And Trace Jackson Davis beat him twice, though, last year. Trace Jackson Davis put it on Zach Edey.
I love how Trace Jackson Davis has just continued to get better and better and better.
This is how it happens, Larry. This is how it happens. I'm telling you right now, year 3 of Trace Jackson Davis is going to be flirting with all-star contention.
Well, I mean, I love this kid in the draft. I loved him. And I'm not talking about after the Warriors drafted him. We were literally on the air when he was drafted on this channel. And I'd been a fan of his for over a couple months. Just when I started watching him, I'm like, wait a second, this is Dale Davis's kid. He gets up and down the floor. He can shoot the ball. I mean, he can shoot the ball, but never really did at Indiana. But his game is that he can pass, he can rebound, he can block shots. In a lot of ways, I'm like, you know what? This guy is Draymond Green right now with some of the things that he can do. And he's got a developing shot. And sure enough, he's come in. He's been fantastic.
During his junior year, so 2 years ago, I'm on the air, me and Ray. And I mean, I'm saying things like, look, I know you're going to call me crazy, but Trace Jackson Davis would be a perfect Golden State Warrior because he gives them the things that they're bad at and doesn't try to do the things that they're already good at. Like, he's not going to be the dude shooting threes when you got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to do that. So he's exactly what I was talking about, how Trace Jackson Davis was a perfect fit for the Warriors 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So we were on the air together when he got drafted at the same time. I lost my mind. As a matter of fact, hold on. I didn't wear them out because you cannot wear these out in downtown San Francisco when your team's not actually in the tournament. But since we're talking Trace, I'm going to get the candy stripes on. I'll use them like a scarf instead of actually wearing them. There you go. Go Hoosiers.
Dusty Gold says, Larry, remember Ralph's love for Rosanna Arquette? Love to hear you do Ralph talking about Arquette. She was a lovely lady. I told Tate, I told Tom. I my dream was to bring her to Amici's in Danville and just, have a pie and maybe some spicy wings. Oh, Rosanna Arquette was a beauty. I always thought she was beautiful. I always said that A-Rod was beautiful. And I thought Chris Webber had very pretty eyes.
Did you know that the song Rosanna by Toto was about Rosanna Arquette? Did you know that she's the Rosanna and that's the same Rosanna? And the Rosanna that Toto sang, which of course we all know won Grammy for Song of the Year in 1982.
You know, Ralph, I don't have time between all the defensive backs, linebackers, all the good football players that football guys like myself watch in the springtime. I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of disposable time to watch anything. Rosanna this, Rosanna that. I mean, God bless Ralph. But I mean, if she tears an ACL, call me back. I got no time. I got no time. I'm watching DBs. I'm watching Trayvon Walker.
Like and subscribe. We'll see you on Monday, and we promise we will not use the phrase, my bracket is busted. We will not use that phrase. You're welcome.
I hope everybody has a great Friday. Go St. Mary's. Big fan. Who's St. Mary's coach again, Damon?
It's Randall Benoot.
No, come on, Damon. What's the the St. Mary's coach? He goes on with Tom. He used to go on with Ralph and Tom.
Let me tell you, those Randy Bennett segments are really winning quarter hours. Like we every single time Tom Tolbert's talking to Randy Bennett, like we would just, we're on 95.7 the game. We would lean in. We're like, we're doing a Warriors segment. We're doing a Niners segment. And we're about to destroy KNBR's entire business model this afternoon. And, I did do that. So you're welcome, everybody.
I told Tom, it's hard to win the ratings battle when you have Randy Bennett on, especially in that 5 o'clock hour.
Bye.